ॐ शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य तु वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। ॐ Dear friends, welcome to the study of the Yoga Sutras. In the last class, we were seeing Sutra number 11. That was about that is regarding Smriti. That is Anubhuta Vishaya Asampramosha Smriti. So there, Smriti is recollection. We were just seeing that is something which has been experienced. Anubhuta Vishaya. Anubhuta means something which has been experienced. Tasya Asampramosha, the state of not getting stolen. That is what is called Smriti. So that is what we saw. And we also read the Bhashyam. And in that Bhashyam line, I'll just share the Bhashyam now. I'll share the text now. So in this Bhashyam, I was just wondering about one particular line. That is Sarva Smrtayaha Pramana Viparyaya Vikalpa Nidra Smrutinam Anubhavat Prabhavanti. Why again this Smriti, again about Smriti? So in fact, he means that only. He means that only. That is, suppose I remember one experience. Suppose I recall some old experience. And this remembrance or recollection again can cause one more Smriti. Some 10-year-old experience today I recall. Then again, tomorrow again I recall it. This particular Smriti, today's recollection I do recall. So that is how all these things, Pramana, Viparyaya, Vikalpa, there are 5 types of vrittis in the beginning we saw. What are these? Pramana, that is valid knowledge. Viparyaya is incorrect knowledge. Vikalpa is fanciful ideas. Then Nidra, sleep, and also recollection. Smrutinam, Anubhavat. Anubhavat means by experience of them. Prabhavanti. Prabhavanti means they do originate. They originate because of the experience of all these 5 types of vrittis. So this line, I was just wondering why there again and again this Smriti here also is there and again Smriti is there. So then again all the rest is very clear. All the rest we just saw. Sarvashrita Vrataya Sukha Dukkha Mohatmika. They all either they give happiness or unhappiness. They are either deluding in nature. Sukha Dukkha Mohatmika. And Sukhanushayi Ragaha, Dukkhanushayi Dveshaha. I just explained all those things. Now the question is, how to restrain them? Atha asam nirodhe ka upaya. This is what is called avatarika. Even in all the bhashyams, there is one introductory line. That introductory line is called avatarika, because that is something which is avatarayati asman vishaye avatarayati. So it makes us enter. It makes us get into that topic. So avatarika is something which enables us to get into that topic. Atha asam nirodhe. Asam means Asam Vrittinam. Vritti is feminine. So that is why Asam Vrittinam Nirodhe, for the purpose of controlling or restraining them. Ka upayaha. What is the upaya? Now we are coming to the ethical aspect. So far we have seen only the psychology aspect of yoga. Psychology aspect of yoga, he said, okay, Chittam is like this, and then Vrittis are like this, and then Vrittis are different types. And then the Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna, and their impact on the vrittis, and all those things we saw. Now, Asam Nirodha. Now, this ethical training also is essential. It is not as though the yoga is only about mind control. Yoga is not merely about mind control. It is basically about Kaivalya. If you want to know about the absolute reality, and if you want to experience that absolute reality, we have to first of all purify ourselves. Unless we purify ourselves, we can't understand it. We just can't. At an intellectual level, we may be able to say something, but we will not feel it. That is the problem. So for that experience, Vedanta talks about the same, purification of self, and yoga also talks about the same, purification of self. Buddhists also talk about the same. So all types of all these yogic practices, they talk about the purification of self. So asam nirodhe ka upayaha, kaha upayaha. Visarga is not there because of Sandhi. Ka upaya iti. So let us see the sutra. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodhaha. Abhyasa Vairagya. He is telling about two things. Abhyasam is, Abhyasa normally in all Indian languages, we all know we have that word Abhyasa. Abhyasa, Ganita Abhyasa, or some other Abhyasa. Abhyasa means practicing. Then Vairagya. Vairagya also is a very, very common word. That is, a raga means attachment. Vigataha ragaha viragaha. Vigataha ragaha. That is one from whom raga has departed. Vigataha ragaha. It is not as though you are abandoning it. The raga itself slowly and slowly drops off as you become wise, and then as you read some scriptures, as you read something like Srimad Ramayana, Bhagavatam, or something like that, or Mahabharatam. So Mahabharatam basically, the main topic, the main purpose of Mahabharatam is to induce Vairagya. So anyway, that Vairagya, that dispassion, Viragasya bhavaha Vairagya. Raga is attachment, Vigataha ragaha viragaha. Then Viragasya bhavaha Vairagya. That is that state where all the passions, all the attachments, they just slowly wane away. So that is Vairagya. Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam. That is in Trutiya Vibhakti. Abhyasena Vairagyena. Abhyasena cha kaunteya Vairagyena cha gruhyate. That is the line from Gita also. We do not know. The Gita also, Krishna also thought in the same manner. And Patanjali also is saying in the same way. Abhyasena cha kaunteya Vairagyena cha gruhyate. That mind is something which is controlled by both Abhyasa and by Vairagya. That is what he says. Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam. By these two, by this vritti, tan nirodha, tat plus nirodha. That is, tat plus nirodha is that nirodha of these vrittis. That is nirodha of what? Nirodha of these vrittis. So their restraint is the subject here. Their restraint, there means what? That is the vrittis. The restraint of these vrittis is by practice and by dispassion. We have to consciously, we have to deliberately practice it, and also by dispassion. So he is explaining what exactly is this practice, and also what is Vairagya. He is now going to explain what exactly is this practice. Chitta Nadinama Ubhayato Vahini. There can be a comma also here. Vahati Punya, Vahati Kalyanaya, Vahati Papaya cha. Chitta Nadi. The mind is like a stream. Stream or a river. Nadi is actually a river. Chitta Nadi. The mind is a river of what? River of so many thoughts which come and go, they just come and go. All these are vrittis. So the moment I see one object, that vritti arises. I see another object, that vritti arises. I see another object, that vritti arises. And that vritti can produce some memories in my mind. So that is a stream of consciousness. In fact, in English literature, there is a school of writers. That is a stream of consciousness novelists. If we see in English literature, there are people like James Joyce and some other people like that who have written books. That is a stream of consciousness novels. Stream of consciousness. This is the idea actually. In fact, the Western literature has imbibed lot many ideas from our texts. There is no doubt about it. In fact, the 18th century Enlightenment, it is as a result of the direct impact or interaction with the Indian thought. There is no doubt, and we have to properly study. We have not properly studied it. So, but then the very great writers of the West from the 18th and 19th centuries, they were impacted by all this literature. So anyway, Chitta Nadi. Nadi is that stream. Chitta Nadi Nama, this stream is something. Ubhayato Vahini. Chitta Nadi, this mind stream is something which is Ubhayataha Vahini. Ubhayataha means both directions. Usually we find Nadi going only in one direction. But there can be some cross current in some places. For example, some other stream comes and joins, so it produces some cross current to some distance. And then again, depending on the speed and the momentum of that particular current, so there is some sort of equilibrium, there is some sort of equation, and then they move in a particular way. Both the things, they move in a particular way. So here, Chitta Nadi is Ubhayato Vahini. That is, it goes in the right direction, also goes in the wrong direction. That means in the human mind, there is also always some sort of interaction of good and bad. So there are currents and cross currents, we can say. Ubhayato Vahini. That is current and cross current. Ubhayato Vahini. There can be a comma here. Vahati Kalyanaya, Vahati Papaya cha. Vaha dhatu. Vahati means it carries. it means both way. There it has got two meanings also. That is, vahati means it flows. Nadi vahati. That is, nadi vahati means nadi flows. Vahati, from vahati only vahanam comes. Nadi also carries us. Nadi also takes us along, along with the flow. So it moves towards, or it carries us, it takes us towards good. Kalyanam. Kalyanam is good. Kalyanam is Shreyas. What in other words, what we call Shreyas and Preyas in Vedanta. What do we say? Preyas is something which is pleasing to our senses, but it may not be good. But Shreyas is something which may not be immediately pleasing to the senses, but that is something which purifies us. That is something which clears the mind of all the dirt and all that, and then it takes us towards the Shreyas. Shreyas is the final goal. That is the realization of the self. So here also the realization of the self is the final goal. So that is the Kalyana. Kalyana is, that is the highest goal. So that is, we can say Shreyas. So Vahati Kalyanaya, it is moving towards Kalyana. Vahati Papayacha, it is moving towards Punyam. It is also moving towards Papam. So the mind has got cross currents. Sometimes some friend comes and then, okay, oh, chalo bhai, let us go out, let's go and enjoy. So it goes out. Some other man comes, okay, let us see this. There is some Swamiji who has come, or some satsang which is going on. So something like that. So our mind is impacted by all these. So Vahati Punyaya, Vahati Papaya. Punyaya means Kalyanaya, means Punyaya. Then Yatu, Ya means, here we are referring to this Vahini. Ya, Vahini, or that particular current, we have to refer to that current. Yatu Kaivalya Pragbhara Viveka Vishaya Nimna Sa Kalyana Vaha. He is now talking about that particular stream which is moving us, which is moving or taking us towards this Kalyana. Kalyana Vaha. Kalyana Vaha means flowing towards that Kalyana or taking us towards that Kalyana. What is that? Yatu Kaivalya Pragbhara. Pragbhara means inclining towards. You visualize something like a rod or something like that, and suppose there is a weight here. And with that weight, it is inclined. Pragbhara. There is bhara means heaviness. Pragbhara means that is inclining towards. That is heavily inclining towards. Heavily towards. We can say heavily towards or heavily inclining towards. What? Inclining towards Kaivalyam. That is Kaivalya Pragbhara. Kaivalya Pragbhara means that which tends towards, or which inclines towards, or which is heavily towards Kaivalya. That means we are thinking about, we are all pursuing certain ethical practices, maybe yama, niyama, etc., etc. We are leading a very disciplined life, a spiritually disciplined life, the life of a sadhaka. That is Kaivalya Pragbhara. They are the vrittis which are in that direction. Kaivalya Pragbhara. Viveka Vishaya Nimna. Nimna means a low-lying area. Nimna Pradesha we say. Nimna Pradesha means a low-lying area. So Viveka Vishaya Nimna. So it is moving towards the depths of that Viveka. Viveka Vishaya. Vishaya means object. Object or subject, let us say the topic, let us say here. Object means not the sense objects we are talking about. Viveka Vishaya. Nimna means that depth or low-lying area. Viveka Vishaya Nimna means it is moving to the depths of that Viveka. Depths of knowledge, let us say. Depths of knowledge or depths of Viveka. Viveka, what is the meaning of Viveka? It is from the root called Vichir Prathak Bhave. That is, we analyze and examine and then see, we distinguish the good from the bad. We distinguish from the Nitya from the Anitya. Nitya means what is eternal, Anitya is what is ephemeral. So Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka, we must have heard about that word. Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka. That is differentiating between what is right and what is wrong, what is eternal and what is ephemeral. So all that is Viveka. That means we are making an analysis, what is right, what is wrong. So Viveka Vishaya Nimna, one that is moving Kaivalya Pragbhara, moving towards Kaivalya and moving towards the depths of knowledge, that particular stream is Kalyana Vaha. Yes. Ya Srotaha or Ya Vahini, we are referring to Vahini. Ya Nadi or Ya Vahini. Vishaya Nimna Sa Kalyana Vaha, that is moving towards that Kalyanam or taking us towards Kalyana. So we can take both meanings for this Vahini. In fact, vahana is wagon, vahan and wagon. They are both cognate words only. Vahini. Then the opposite to that, Kalyanavaha, the opposite of Kalyanavaha is Papavaha. He is, that is, moving towards Papa, moving towards some sinful activities, moving towards some useless activities. What is that? Samsara Pragbhara. Samsara Pragbhara. Pragbhara, I said, that is heavily inclined towards Pragbhara. Bhara is heavy, heaviness, that is weight. Pragbhara means that is having, it is weighing towards, let us say. It is weighing towards, maybe that may be a better idiomatic expression, that is weighing towards samsara. Samsaranam is again, what is samsara? Samsara again is a technical word. It comes from the root sarati. Sarati means to moves. Samsaranam means you just keep on moving and moving and moving as in a cycle. Janana Marana Chakram, that is what is called samsara. That is, you take birth, then again do some karma, then again get lost. Get lost means die. You means, I'm not talking about you. Let me say, I take birth, just do some karma, then die. Then again, I take birth again. Then again, I do some karma, again die. So that is the cycle of samsara. Samsaranam. I am not escaping from this cycle called the birth and death. That is Janana Marana Chakram, we say. So that is samsaranam. Samsara does not mean wife, children, grandparents, parents, grandchildren, etc. Samsara does not mean, oh, it's a huge samsara, we say. Huge samsara doesn't mean that it is a huge family. Samsara does not mean family. Samsara is samsaranam. And why this samsaranam takes place? That is because of raga, dvesha. Oh, yes, till my end, I have certain passions. Till my end, I keep on hating somebody. Till my end, I want to do this. Even after my next life, I want to achieve this. So we hear such stories also. So naturally, the man cannot escape. So that is samsara pragbhara. Then aviveka vishaya nimna. You have to note this avagraha here. Samsara pragbhara viveka. That is pragbhara. If we want to break here, aviveka vishaya nimna. That is here again the depth. What are these depths? The depths of ignorance. Earlier the depth was the depths of knowledge. Here Viveka Vishaya Nimna. Then now here it is Aviveka Vishaya Nimna, the depths of ignorance. That is, we are caught in this cycle of birth and death, and we are only moving towards that the depths of this samsara, aviveka, foolishness, and then we perpetuate the raga and dvesha, and somehow we may also be tempted to do certain sinful activities. So that particular srota, that particular vagini, that particular nadi or stream is papavaha. It flows towards papam or it takes us towards papam. Tatra vairagyena vishaya srotaha khili kriyate. Tatra means in that context, vairagyena, that is by practice of this vairagya. I told about vairagya. Vairagya does not come just like that. Vairagya comes only by educating the mind. Vairagya comes only by study of scriptures, by listening to a teacher, by going to a teacher, listening to whatever stream, whatever Vedanta, school of Vedanta, or whatever school of thought you may be pursuing. So that Vairagya comes only after knowing what is the ultimate reality and where am I? What is the final Purushartha? In our tradition, we have got 4 Purusharthas, that is the human goals: Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. All the 4 are permissible. They are all permitted by Dharma. Dharma, that is Shastras, they are all permitted by the Shastras. Dharma is pursuit of righteous conduct, right conduct. And every human being is living in the world, and then when the scriptures do not say, no, you have to throw away the world, and then everybody, it is not telling everybody to become a sannyasi and all that. So you have to do your job in the society. And at the same time, you should also be thinking about the highest reality, keeping that highest reality in mind. And in the light of that highest reality, we have to define our ethics. When we have some understanding, a clear understanding about the highest reality, that is like an anchor. That is like an anchor which gives us the direction, or which tells us what is right and what is wrong. So some people say, no, what is the use of this theory and what not? Why not we straight away go to experience? What will you experience? What will you meditate? Unless you know unless you know what to be meditated upon. Suppose a person who does not read Gita, a person who has no idea about what is that ultimate reality, If we don't have any idea about ultimate reality, and if we want to have experience, oh, I want to get into this samadhi, that samadhi can only be some sort of delusion. Delusion. So if he has a proper idea, that proper idea, proper understanding comes only by study of Shastras, by listening to scriptures, by listening to a guru. So that vairagya is real vairagya. So vairagyena Vishaya srotaha hili kriyate. Srotaha means that stream. Again, that Vagini, Nadi, Vishaya srotaha. That stream which is moving towards this Vishaya, sense objects and all that. Hili kriyate. Hili kriyate means Nyuni kriyate. It gets dried up. It is made thin. That the stream becomes a thin and thin and thin, and then it gets dried up. So hili kriyate. Vairagyena Vishaya srota hili kriyate. Viveka darshanabhyasena विवेक स्रोतः उद्घाट्यते इति उभयाधीनः चित्तवृत्ति निरोधः. विवेक दर्शनाभ्यासेन. विवेक दर्शन. You see the word darshana also. Darshana also is very important. You see, we say in our systems of philosophy we call them darshana. Shad darshana we say. Darshanam is what? Darshana is a vision. That vision happens. The vision is only about reality. So once you know what is that reality, that is that darshana. So viveka darshana abhyasena. And that also has to be constantly practiced, because today I am reading some scripture. Then again today, tomorrow I don't read, for 1 week I don't read. By that time my mind is again back into my own tendencies. So if I have to change my tendencies, if I have to change my samskaras, so this abhyasa has to be continuous. So that also we were going to see in the next sutra. Viveka darshana abhyasena viveka srotaha udghatyate. Udghatyate means it gets opened up. Udghatanam. Udghatanam is a common word. Udghatanam means opening ceremony. Udghatana samaroha. Athava in case some other samaroha. What is this? Some other karikrama we say. Udghatanam means that is opening ceremony. Here opened up. Udghatyate means it gets opened up. Viveka srotaha. That is that stream of viveka, the stream of discrimination, the stream of wisdom. It opens up. Iti ubhayata dhinaha chittavrutti nirodha. So this chittavrutti nirodha, that is the restraint of the chittavrutti, is ubhayadhinaha. Ubhayadhinaha means abhyasa and vairagya both have to be there. In fact, we see that in Viveka Chudamani also. In Viveka Chudamani there is a beautiful shloka which says, what is that? Purushasya pakshivat abhyasa, that is viveka bodhau purushasya pakshivat. It says viveka is this discrimination. No, not viveka. That vairagya bodhau purushasya pakshivat. Vairagya on one side and bodha. Bodha is learning, education on one side. They are like the two wings of the bird. And unless both wings are there, with one wing the bird cannot fly up. So with these both wings, vairagya bodhau purushasya pakshivat. So I forget the shloka. You can check that shloka. Vairagya bodhau purushasya pakshivat starts like that. So with that, so this pakshi, this adhaka, he flies and then he can land on the top of that moksha mahal, such moksha, that building, that mansion called moksha. The person will land up only at that time. Till then he cannot fly. So both have to be there. So here also it says ubhayadhinaha chittavrutti nirodhaha. It depends on ubhaya, both. Now we come to the next sutra. Tatra sthitau yatnaha abhyasaha. Sthitau yatnaha. Sthitau yatnaha means sthityartham yatnaha. Tatra means in that context. Sthitau. Tatra in that context means in the context of achieving that nirodha. In the context of achieving that nirodha. Sthitau yatnaha abhyasaha. Abhyasa, what is abhyasa? Abhyasa is the effort made to attain some sort of sthiti. To attain some sort of sthiti. What is that sthiti? Sthitau. Sthitau is actually in Saptami Vibhakti. But it has to be taken as sthityartham. It is called what is called Nimitta Saptami. Nimitta Saptami means Saptami Vibhakti is a locative case. That locative case to indicate a particular purpose. To indicate a particular purpose. Sthitau is that locative case indicating a particular purpose. Sthitau means sthityartham. Sthitehe praptaye. Sthitehe praptaye. So that is the meaning. That is tatra sthitau. Yatna, like Moksha praptau, let us say. Praptau ante moksha praptaye. Evam. Moksha praptau. So like that. Tatra sthitau yatnaha. It is called technical, grammatical, in grammar it is called nimitta saptami. That is saptami vibhakti, which is indicating a nimittam. That is sthityartham yatnaha. Sthitau yatnaha abhyasaha. Yatnaha is abhyasa. Yatna means effort. Prayatna. Prayatna is effort. What is this prayatna? This effort which is made in order to attain some stability. Sthiti means stability or steadiness. The effort made in order to attain some stability in that nirodha is what is called abhyasa. Stability in that particular state, stability in that state is called abhyasa. So then let us see, there is a very small commentary here. Chittasya avruttikasya prashantavahita sthitihi. What is this sthiti? He is explaining what is sthiti. Tatra sthitau yatnaha abhyasaha, he said, isn't it? Sthiti means steadiness. I simply translated it as steadiness, firmness, firmly established, let us say. So what is this sthiti? Sthiti, he says, chittasya avruttikasya prashantavahita sthitihi. Chittasya means of that mind. Avruttikasya. Avruttikasya means which is not having any vruttis. Chittasya avruttikasya, not having any vruttis. Prashanta vahita, that means a very, very smooth flow. Prashanta vahita, that is very, very smooth flow. That is what is called sthiti. But here the commentators have pointed out a very important thing. Chittasya avruttikasya. When we say avruttikam, avruttikam literally means na plus vrutti. Avrutti. Na plus vruttikam, avruttikam, isn't it? Avruttikam is which is mind which is devoid of all these vruttis, all the vruttis. But if even the sattvika vrutti is not there, rajasa vrutti and tamasa vrutti has to go away. Rajasa and tamasa vrittis have to be eliminated. But sattvika vrutti has to be there during the practice time. If sattvika vrutti is not there, then practice will not be possible. If everything is there, the mind will be blank. So avruttikasya, this negative, nai is there, isn't it? Na plus vruttikasya, avruttikasya. That nai has to be taken as this in Sanskrit, this nakara has 6 different meanings. Depending on the context, we have to take it, interpret in different ways. Na sometimes totally negates. Sometimes it says only alparthe nai. Alparthe nai is the nai. That is what some people say. Sometimes in some context, alparthe. Alparthe means it only indicates the smallness or littleness. So here chittasya avruttikasya does not mean that the chittam is totally devoid of vruttis, but chittam is having some vruttis. And what are those vruttis? Sattvika vruttis. Only rajasa and tamasa vruttis are eliminated. So in grammar, they have also given the example, the book which I am following, they also give the quotation from the examples given by Panini. For example, anudara nari. Anudara nari. Anudara ante, the anudara means a woman who doesn't have waist at all. Anudara, udara means waist. Anudara nari, a woman who doesn't have any waist. What does it mean? That is a woman of slender waist. A lady who is having a very, very slender waist. She is anudara nari. So that is the example. There, na plus udara, anudara. So strictly speaking, we have to say there is no waist at all. But then alparthe nai, that is there, the nakara is used to indicate alpartha. That is to indicate the smallness, littleness. So here also, chittasya avruttikasya has to be taken that way. Chittasya avruttikasya prashantavahita sthitihi. Prashantavahita, this prashantavahita again, the commentator has given a very nice shloka. Shrutva, spruštvacha, drushtvacha, bhuktva, dhratva, shubha, shubham. That is a person, he may be enjoying something, he may be getting some happy things, or he may be getting some unhappy things. Whether in a happy, whether sukha dukkhe samaya bhutva, as Gita says, whether there is some good experiences coming, or whether some harsh experience is coming, the person is not getting perturbed. So that is the state. Na hrushyati na glayati. Na hrushyati glayati cha. Sa shanta iti kathyate. Shanta is that state where you are not overreacting. You are not rejoiced when something good happens, and then you are not distressed or depressed when something bad happens. So that is what is that Shanta Sthiti. So he is saying, Nahrusyate Naglayati, Sa Shanta iti kathyate. That is that Prashanta Vahita Sthiti. So this Prashanta Vahita takes place only when the Satvika Vrittis are there. Satvika Vritti, that is enlightened Vrittis, which are enlightened in the sense, enlightened by the study of Shastras. Enlightened by the study of Shastras. Such Vrittis have to be there, like Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So unless they are there, this sort of Prashantata does not come. Prashantata is not by having some dope or something like that. It is Prashantata is by understanding, proper understanding. He doesn't get excited. He doesn't get excited, na hrushyati, na dveshti, na vinandati, na dveshti. So that is it. Prashantavahita sthitihi. Tadartha prayatno viryam utsahaha. Tadartha prayatnaha. That is yatna. Yatna is tadartha prayatnaha. So the prayatna is viryam utsahaha. Viryam is strength, valor. In fact, in Gita also, not only Gita, other texts also we see the word dhira. Dhira means a person, dhira does not mean a person who fights with 100 people. Dhira is a person who controls his mind. Kashchid dhiraha, pratyagatmanam aichat says Kathopanishad. Kashchid dhiraha. All of the people, they are looking to external objects. Whereas one rare dhira, what does he do? He controls his mind. Pratyagatmanam aichat. He looks inward and then sees the pratyagatma, the inward self. So like that, viryam is that. Viryam is that particular strength to see reality. So to see reality, also some viryam is needed. Viryam, utsaha. Utsaha is enthusiasm. That great positive attitude, as we say. That very positive attitude is utsaha. So that viryam, utsaha, that is what is called prayatna. Then tat sampipada ishaya, tat sadhana anushtanam abhyasaha. Sadhana anushtanam abhyasaha. Abhyasa. Now what is that abhyasa? Tatra sthitau. Sthitau is sthityartham. Tadarthaha, he said. Tat sampipada ishaya. That is that, what is that? Sthiti. He is referring to that sthiti. Tat sampipada ishaya. Sampipada ishaya is sampadayitum ichha. Sampadana, we know. In Telugu also we say, oh, sampadana bhagundi, we say. Sampadana means earning. That is attaining. Sampipada isha is sampadayitum ichha. That is the desire to attain it, desire to achieve it, desire to get it, desire to achieve that particular state. Sampipada ishaya. Tat sadhana anushtanam abhyasaha. What are these sadhanani? Sadhanani, again, the commentators, they have written, sthiti sadhanani, antaranga bhirangani, yamani yamadini. Commentator means I am not referring to Vyasa commentary. On Vyasa commentary, I told you there are some sub-commentaries. So I am occasionally quoting from those commentaries. This is from Tattva Vaisharadi of Vachaspati Mishra. Vachaspati Mishra says, Sthiti sadhanani. What are these sadhanani? For attaining that particular sthiti, in order to attain that particular sthiti of Prashanta Vahita, where the mind is that Prashanta, in that Prashanta state, you have to follow, you have to practice some of these sadhanani. Sadhana means some of these practices you have to do. And what are those practices? Yama niyamadini. So he classifies there also. Antaranga bahirangani yama niyamadini. Antaranga bahirangadini. So there are what are called antaranga sadhanani. In Vedanta also uses the same terms. Antaranga sadhanam and bahiranga sadhanam. Antaranga sadhanam, bahiranga sadhanam is, for example, in Vedanta what we say is karma yoga. Karma yoga is the bahiranga sadhanam. That is a person who is on the path of knowledge, a person who is trying to know his self. Then he, time of course, yeah, we do have time. So a person who is on the path of knowledge, so he has to first of all purify his mind. And in order to purify his mind, what are the means? Yajna, danam, tapasyaiva, pavanani, manishanam. Yajna, danam, tapaha. Yajna is performing any useful act, any act which is useful to society, any act which is useful to the entire aggregate. So that is what is yajna. Yajna does not mean some sort of fire ritual only. Yajna is any socially useful activity is defined as yajna in the context of Gita, in 4th chapter of Gita. So danam is charitable activity. Tapaha is austerity, that is purifying the mind. So these are all the things which are pavanani manishanam, he says. So this karma yoga again is one of the bahiranga sadhana. That is one of the things which karma yoga is actually doing whatever you are doing as an offering to the aggregate, as an offering to the Lord means you see the Lord everywhere, and then whatever work you do, you work for the welfare of the society, as the welfare of the entire humanity. So that is what is karma yoga. So that karma yoga is a sadhana. But then a person who is moving up and up in that sadhana marga, after some time the karma also drops off. So that means karma was there to some extent. Karma was there to some extent. But as he gets into jnana marga, the karma may be there, karma may not be there. A jnani may be doing karma, a jnani may not be doing karma. So that is his state. The jnani, there is no compulsion that jnani has to abandon all karmas. A jnani may be doing some karma. So that is what we see in Vedanta. So that is what is bahiranga. Karma is bahiranga sadhana. But antaranga sadhana is control of mind. A jnani, suppose a person attains jnanam. After attaining jnanam and all that, then shama, all these things have to be there. The antaranga sadhana has to be there. Antaranga sadhana is daya, ahimsa, daya, and various characteristics which are mentioned there. All those things have to be there. A person, what is that? That shloka which tells about jnani. So all these things, they have to be his own nature. They have to be his nature. So that is, they are the antaranga things. They have to that continue, that austerity, etc. It has to continue. So tatra sthitau tat sampipadeshaya tat sadhana anushtanam. Anushtanam is practicing. Now, anushtanam also is a word which is commonly known to us. Anushtanam we say nityanushtanam. Nityanushtanam we say, for example, Sandhyavandanam, etc. is a nityanushtanam. So anushtanam is practicing. Anushtanam is abhyasaha. Practice means that. Then we come to the next sutra. It is again telling about abhyasa. Abhyasa, this sutra tells, this abhyasam does not take place in a short while. Abhyasa doesn't take in a short period of time. You have to practice for a fairly long period of time. And even for that long period of time, you have to devote some time every day. Suppose I am trying to learn something. Suppose I am trying to learn music. I have been trying to learn music for the last 20 years, suppose I say like that. So then, if I am trying to learn music, I should also devote some time every day. I can't say, okay, I have practiced for 10 minutes on Sunday, and again on the next Sunday for again 10 minutes, and again on the next Sunday for 10 minutes. So that cannot be the thing. I should also devote some sufficient time for that. So Satu, the practice has to be for a long time. It has to be continuous for fairly long periods, and also with some sort of degree of reverence, some shraddha, some sense of dedication. That also has to be there. Unless I have some respect, unless I do have some reverence, I will not be practicing it. So these 3 points he says. Number 1 is you have to practice it for a long time and practice it continuously, and also do it with some amount of shraddha. Why some amount? With a good degree of shraddha. So that is what the sutra says. Sa is referring to that abhyasa. Saha abhyasaha. Sa tu dirghakala nairantarya satkara asevito drudha bhumihi. Drudha bhumi means it gets strongly grounded. Drudha means strong. Bhumi is ground. Drudha bhumihi bhavati means it gets strongly grounded. What that abhyasa gets strongly grounded or firmly grounded only when it is performed for a long time. Dirghakala, satu, sa abhyasahatu, dirghakala, for a long time. Nairantarya, nirantaram we say. Nirantaram means always. Antaram means gap. There antaram is gap. Absence of antaram is called nirantaram. Nis plus antaram, nirantaram. That is gapless. That is without any recess, without any sort of interval. That is nirantaram, without any interval. Nirantarasya bhavaha nairantaryam. From nirantara you get the word nairantaryam. That is that state of continuousness. So that nairantarya. Then satkara. Satkara also is a word which we commonly use. Satkara is, oh, so and so is getting satkara. Puraskara, satkara. Satkara is something which is honor. So here we have to practice it with a great degree of respect, with a great degree of reverence and a sense of dedication. So that is satkara. Asevitaha. Asevitaha means practiced. Asevita means something which is practiced. So this abhyasa, it becomes strongly grounded. Drudha bhumihi bhavati. Drudha bhumihi bhavati, that word we have to take it, we have to borrow it in order to complete the sentence. So drudha bhumihi bhavati. Kada bhavati? Kada bhavati ityukte, when does it become strongly grounded? It becomes only when it is performed for a long time. Dirghakala paryantam asevitaha. Nairantaryena asevitaha. Satkarena asevitaha. It is done, practiced for a long time. Nairantaryena, satkarena. It is practiced for such a long time. Yeah, the same thing he is saying, that asevita, he is connecting to all the three. Dirghakala, Nairantara, Satkara. Asevitam is practiced. Dirghakala asevitaha. Nirantara asevitaha. Satkara asevitaha. Dirghaka, for a long time it is practiced. Nirantara, continuously it is practiced. And also every day. That is the reason why the singers and the people like the dancers, etc., even the fighters, they do practice, say 5-6 hours a day. Martial arts practice or any other practice. Dancers, they do practice for a few hours every day. Singers, they do practice for a few hours every day. So dirghakala asevitaha, nirantara asevitaha, satkara asevitaha. Then what is this satkara? He is telling about what is this satkara. Tapasa, brahmacharyena, vidyaya, shraddhaya cha sampaditaha, satkaravan drudabhumihi bhavati. Yeah. Tapasa, brahmacharyena, vidyaya, shraddhaya cha sampaditaha. That tapasa, what is this tapas? Tapas is austerity. Tapaha, simple word. In fact, the root meaning of tapa is alochane. Tapa alochane. That means meditation. Meditation means, for meditation we should have some knowledge. Meditation means tad japas tad artha bhavanam. We are going to see, get a sutra also. Suppose you are doing meditation of Gayatri Mantra. And if you are just reciting 100 times, 108 times, 1000 times also, it doesn't make much difference, so long as you just do not bother about the meaning. But of course, orthodox people, ritualists, they say, oh, Gayatri Mantra has its own punyam. The moment you recite, you are going to get so much of punyam, etc. But the point is, if you really want to know, if you want to feel it, you have to know the meaning of it. What is that Gayatri Mantra saying? What is the meaning? The Gayatri Mantra is actually saying you are Tattvamasi. That is what it is saying. So anyway, that tapasa, tapa is alochana. You have to know, you have to understand, you have to know the meaning. So without that, tapa alochane, that is thinking. So that thinker, you have to be a thinker. Tapasvi, actually, literally, you can translate it as thinker. Tapasvi, literally means thinker. Tapasa, brahmacharyena. Brahmacharya is celibacy. Brahmacharya, celibacy, of course, celibacy is, it is defined in different ways. Celibacy does not mean not marrying at all. Celibacy does not mean not marrying at all. In fact, we have seen in Vedanta, that one Upanishad, 2-3 Upanishads also, we saw what is Brahmacharya. Rutau bharya gamanam brahmacharyam. That is, you have the wife is very much there, and then you are supposed to keep her needs also in mind. So you have to have this bodily relationship with the wife, and the wife also needs it, and you also need it. So that you have to do that also you do it in a prescribed manner. Shastra also prescribes what are the dates, and in fact Shastra also tells all that. So that is brahmacharya. Rutau bharya gamanam brahmacharyam. Then that brahmacharya does not mean that one should remain a bachelor and whatnot. You can have your wife, but then you don't go beyond your wife. But then again, during marriage also we make a promise. Dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha, naticharami, etc. What is that? In the pursuit of dharma, in pursuit of artha, in pursuit of kama, naticharami, I do not go beyond you, etc., etc. We do promise. And the lady also promises. Okay. Brahmacharya is that. Then vidyaya, shraddhaya, vidya is knowledge. Now again, vidya is, unless we have an understanding of the Shastras. Again, as I said just now, some people say, no, what is the use of all this theoretical now? What is the use of knowledge? Let us straight away go for meditation. So they just don't talk about philosophy, they don't talk about Gita, they don't talk about Upanishads. Okay, just sit and then do dhyana. What are you doing dhyana? What is the dhyana you are doing? You may be observing breath and whatnot, but then what is the, what is the final experience which you are having? So that is why it says Shraddhaya, Vidyaya. That Vidya is also very much important. Yadeva Vidyaya karoti tadeva viryavattaram bhavati. In fact, that is also quoted by, that is also quoted by, the commentator here. Yadeva Vidyaya karoti Shraddhayopanishada tadeva vidyavattaram. Whatever is done with proper understanding, that becomes viryavattaram. So suppose you are doing some puja. That puja, okay, gives some result. There is no doubt about it. But then if you understand the meaning and then perform it, it gives much result to you. So that is what is Vidyaya karoti. Vidyaya, Shraddhaya. Shraddha again is a very important word, both in Vedanta and also in yoga and in all these spiritual practices. Shraddha is the dedication, the sense of dedication. Shraddha does not mean blind faith. Shraddha means you know that the teacher who is telling you is somebody who has practiced. I'm talking about not a teacher like me, but I'm talking about a real guru teaching about. Suppose you come across a real yogi, some sort of great yogi. Suppose you come across. So that man, he has practiced. You should have some shraddha. Yes, this gentleman has really achieved that kaivalya sthiti. So that is not a blind belief. You are trusting a person with some amount of reverence. And he is a person who has really experienced it. So, and with the hope of attaining it, it is not as though you are blindly believing. With the hope of attaining it, you are following the method which is told by him. So that is what it is, Shraddha. Shraddhaya sampaditaha. Satkaravan abhyasaha. Here Satkaravan is Pumlinga. Druda Bhumi is Srilinga. Satkaravan. So therefore, Satkaravan applies to, it has to apply to Abhyasa. We are talking about Satu Abhyasa, isn't it? We are talking about Abhyasa. That's Abhyasa, which is Sampaditaha. Satkaravan, with amount of reverence. Satkaravan Abhyasaha. Drudha Bhumihi Bhavati. So that gets firmly grounded, that gets firmly established. Then, Vyuthana Samskarena Dragityeva Anabhibhuta Vishayaha Ityarthaha. Vyuthana Samskara. That is, there is again what is called Samadhi Avastha and Vyuthana Avastha. Samadhi Avastha is that Avastha where you are in that particular, awareness of that object, if it is Samprajnata level, awareness of pure awareness if it is Asamprajnata level. The two levels of Samadhi we told, isn't it? That is, one is Samprajnata level and the other is Asamprajnata level. Samprajnata level, you are conscious of, suppose you are thinking about a particular, maybe a god, or thinking about a particular, meditating on at a particular level. So that you are having a very clear idea. Asamprajnata is where you are remaining as pure consciousness. So whatever may be the stage, there is again Vyuthana, from that Samadhi Avastha, from Vyuthana Avastha. Vyuthana means getting up. Vyuthana, Utthanam, V plus Utthanam, that's all. Utthanam, that is getting up. Vyuthana Samskarena. Vyuthana Samskara means again when you get up, all the samskaras of the wakeful state, all the samskara of the daily worldly life, they all again come back to us. And by those samskaras, Dragityeva, Drag means very quickly, Dragityeva, Anabhibhuta Vishayaha Ityarthaha. Very quickly, it does not get, it does not get overwhelmed, or it does not get rather overtaken or overpowered. So this Abhyasa, if it is properly done, if it is done with tapas, if it is done with brahmacharya, if it is done with vidya, if it is done with shraddha and also satkara, so that particular abhyasa, it will not get easily overwhelmed in the Vyuthana, at the Vyuthana. If the abhyasa is not associated with all these things, tapas, brahmacharya, vidya, shraddha, etc., then that abhyasa is of no great use. The moment you do practice, and immediately after that you come out of your samadhi, and immediately you get back to your normal, all types of worldly activities. So here what he says is, this Shraddhaya Sampaditah Samskaravan Abhyasah Drudabhumihi Bhavati. That sort of Abhyasa, it will not get immediately overwhelmed by all these Vithana Samskaras. All these Samskaras which impinge on us the moment we wake up from that Samadhi state. So all these things, they do not immediately overwhelm us. They do not immediately overpower us. Dragityeva. Anabhibhuta Vishaya. Anabhibhuta means he is not immediately he is not overwhelmed. He is not quickly overwhelmed. So if this Abhyasa ceases, then he may be overwhelmed. When this Abhyasa ceases, suppose somebody thinks, okay, I am a Jnani, now it is okay, everything is okay. And then gets into all the worldly activities. So then afterwards, what happens? Once upon a time, okay, his tapas is there, his Abhyasa is there, everything is okay. But now he has again fallen into all bad ways. So we come across some such examples also. Newspapers, they very prominently highlight if some such thing is there. So such thing will not happen if that Abhyasa is properly grounded, Druda Bhumi. If that Abhyasa is not firmly grounded, it becomes Abhibhuta. Abhibhuta means defeated. Anabhibhuta is not defeated. Na Abhibhuta, not defeated. Anabhibhuta Vishaya ityarthaha. I think we will stop here. I thought of telling only 3 sutras today. So then again, he is again talking about Vairagya, Abhyasa Vairagya, Bhyam Tan Nirodha, isn't it? So far, up to 14th, we saw what is Abhyasa. Now he is telling about Vairagyam. Vairagyam we'll see tomorrow in the next class. So Drushta Anusravika Vishaya Vitrushnasya. That is Drushta Vishaya, Anusravika Vishaya. Drushta Vishaya means all the worldly pleasures. Anusravika Vishaya means something which is heard by scriptures. Oh, scriptures say, oh, that is what is called heaven, there is what is some other life, etc., etc. So these are all Anusravika Vishaya. So in all these things, Vitrushna. So a person whose Trushna has disappeared. So a person who is not interested in all those things. So that is called, that particular state is called Vashikara. So that particular Vairagya level. Again, Vairagya, he is telling about 2 levels. One is a higher level Vairagya and one is a lower level Vairagya. We will see that in the next class. If there are any doubts, we can discuss. Any doubts?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, there is one question. What is the significance of mentioning Viveka and Vairagya separately? Are they not related?
They are in a way related in the sense that one promotes the other. Viveka and Vairagya, one promotes the other. So Viveka is more about learning. Viveka is more about learning. Vairagya is more about practice. Viveka, suppose I go to a teacher, I know what is Sattva Guna, what is Rajo Guna, what is Tamo Guna, etc. I know some theoretical aspect. And that promotes my Vairagya. Vairagya, on the other hand, I am consciously trying to control my anger. I am consciously trying to do something else. So Shama, Dhamma, etc. So this is a conscious effort. So on one hand, it is an intellectual aspect. On the other hand, it is something to do with mind control and changing my habits, habit formation. All these old habits have to be, samskaras have to be driven away. So these two, they mutually support, but not exactly the same. That is it.
Thank you, sir. That's it. As of now, just wait for a few minutes and then see if there is any other question they are going to ask.
So nobody has posted a question?
No, sir. Only one question was there.
Okay, then shall I stop sharing?
Yes, please.
I'll let it be there. There may be a question.
Yeah.
Is it clear for you?
Yes, sir. Yes, clear.
For you, it will be crystal clear because you have heard Vedanta also. All these words are old words. Vairagya, samsara, these are all old words. So we'll stop it now.
The question asked by Sumit ji, he's saying, thank you, sir. This was good and clear.
Sorry? Okay, good, clear.
Sumit ji asked that question and says it is clear. It is good and clear.
Okay, Thank you. So we'll
Thank
stop
you,
here.
sir. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, we'll stop here. Harihi Om Tat Sat.
1 second, sir. 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
There's one more question just now received from Ms. Pooja Balasubramanya. Namaste, sir. When I have to address students about Abhyasa, the significance of it with respect to sutras, how do I have to deliver it to them as a yoga tutor?
Better to follow whatever method is given in Vyasa Bhashya and also the subsequent Bhashyas. I strongly advise to read the other commentaries also, not only Vyasa Bhashya, because Vyasa Bhashya is very, very simple on this. We have to do some sort of supplementary reading also. That is the other commentaries, sub-commentaries also, we can read 1 or 2 sub-commentaries, particularly Tattva Vaisharadi and Vijnana Vikshu's Yoga Vartika. So these 2 things we have to read. And some inputs from Vedanta also they are of use, because Vedanta and yoga, they use the same, almost the same terminology and 100% same practices, and terminology here and there is some variation. So with this, it should not be difficult to introduce this subject called Abhyasa. Abhyasa is something both Abhyasa he is giving to a few points here, isn't it? He is talking about both intellectual aspect and also the physical aspect. So both have to be there in this Abhyasa. Okay, we'll stop here.
Thank you so much.
That's it.
Namaskar.